Boom. Hello, legends. How we all doing? So, there's a new consciousness developing, isn't there? And you can't put the genie back in the bottle. So does that mean that the military is ending? Let's get into it with this gentleman, the Cosmic Commando.
I wasn't doing too well at school and I was quite an angry man. And that led into drinking drugs as a young 13, 14-year-old.
And we stood in that office and the colour sergeant said, right, pat yourselves on the back, gentlemen. You've all just joined the Royal Marines. God, gee whiz, that was one hell of a technology blast just to say hello to my former fellow Marine. Dan, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, very well, Chris. Thank you. How you doing?
Yes. So congratulations on our the show that we did. It was very popular and people took a real shine to you, as I think they do with military people that are coming into the light, because I think people wanted to see a bit more of that during all the you know, the COVID stuff. And the military seemed to be intent on just running around injecting people and literally just accepting the status quo, which was quite it wasn't nice for people.
Shocking.
To have to go through when you realise that your military doesn't serve you. So yes, what do you reckon then, Dan? What do we reckon? I get a lot of messages from youngsters that ordinarily would have joined the military, no question. They would have just done it. I don't know how long they'd have stuck it, but now they're saying, Chris, I always had a lifelong dream to join the military. But now, now I don't think it's for me. And they're referring to the role that the military play, but also the fact that in this new consciousness, which I know you found, hence your moniker on Instagram, Cosmic Commando, you can't run around the planet killing people.
No, you can't. No, so, you can't. Yes. So, and I think it's a deep question, isn't it? Because the world is changing. I found it, you found it, and it's a really deep conversation. Darling, sorry. Ebony, I'm live on a podcast, darling. Can you close the door, please, Angel? I love you. So sorry about that. We do tell one, but doesn't tell all. What were we saying? We were saying we can't go around the world killing people. Yeah, so you can't go around and kill it. No, it's purely love and light. I don't know where to begin. Chris, help me out here, because where do you want me to start?
Well, at what point did you get did the light come into your life? I'm always fascinated with it. I remember the exact moment where I suddenly realised life was just a massive, massive lie. Everything, all of it,
Yeah.
And I'm not.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I don't resent Someone said to me the other day, "Why are you proud to be Veteran of the Year?" Right? I say I'm proud to be Veteran of the Year. A, because I'm a veteran, dude. I can't change that. Secondly, I don't have an issue with the military. We signed up to protect the people we love. That was it. And somebody needs to do that job. It's not my fault that we've all found out it's a crock of dog shit. And there's a big club that control the military. You know, they call it the military industrial complex, don't they? And they use it as their devil dogs to go around the planet, basically bombing people to steal their oil and create their new world order. And, or, you know, I'm being a bit liberal there. And then I say, also, you know, I was a highly damaged young man, and yet I managed to pass out with the most elite fighting force at infantry level that this country has. And so that probably set me on a trajectory that allowed me then something to start questioning the status quo and become a fully enlightened individual. In addition, when it comes, just so friends out there know, that the reason I got this award, it's nothing to do with being a squaddy, a soldier, a marine, a command, nothing. It's about the work I've done as a civilian, probably like a lot of people watching now, to prevent people committing suicide. I run across the Sahara, I ran the length of the United Kingdom, I did a quadruple Ironman, I gave up my family Christmas to run 200 miles around a running track. And I life coach people for the most part for free. I get numerous messages every bloody day from people suicidal. Chris, I saw you on a podcast. Can we talk? So, sorry, I'm just getting that off my chest because, you know, we've both been in the military and yet we're now very different people. And I think that's fine, Daniel, you know?
Yeah. So for me, I think it probably started with Afghan. That's when my eyes started opening. But I think I had a breakdown in COVID and I was diagnosed with PTSD. That was my going down the rabbit hole as such. But my last experience that we spoke about in the last podcast where I was sectioned, that was what we now know, we spoke about it lightly, was the Great Awakening. This level of expanding your consciousness and putting yourself into different paradigms of existence, understanding that all these roles we talk about, the multiverse, is what we make ourselves. And we create our own universe by the individual decisions we make on a day-to-day basis. And when we trust everything that's been delivered to us from higher powers or political establishments or military and army, or even your mum and dad, because they've been institutionalized, until you start questioning the narrative, and it does sound very like wave the flag, but all the information is hidden in plain sight should you know where to start looking. And when you do start looking, it's then very hard to not see. And so dynamically, you don't really have a choice. Once you expand your consciousness into a certain level, it's almost natural progression should you want to engage with it. And like you say, Chris, now I'm the cosmic commando 369 I do tarot cards and I tap into channeling this, that, and the other. I am in tune with the universal spirit of the land, like you are, right? So for me, like, I think I've got so many strong opinions. I think the Bible, I love the Bible, but I think, what do I think without getting myself in trouble? And that's the problem, isn't it? We must be careful what we say because we don't want to ban ourselves. But do people talk about numerology and the power of the universe like Nikola Tesla did? That's very, very real. And the information is readily available on all kind of social media outlets if you look into it. But the problem is we're so happy just coming home and watching Netflix. We're not learning. And when we start learning, whether picking up a book or watching a YouTube video on something that we may think, oh, that doesn't sit very well with me, you're becoming a critical thinker. And that's what it is to expand your consciousness, is to question everything and be more conscious all the time. How does that sound?
This is my point. You see, once you understand sacred geometry, mathematics, the pyramids, my God, the cleverness of just the number 3, 6, and 9. and how
It's beautiful.
yes, and how in numerology that reduces to 9, which is the number of perfection, number of the universe, also the number of the devil, because 666 reduces to 9. So that's the as above, so below. And just the fact that we can have this conversation on this level, it's going to throw people. Friends, if you don't get what we're talking about, that's absolutely fine. I would say don't be the person that just goes to another channel or watching. Because
come speak to me. Come speak to me.
Yeah, because this is like undoubtedly like the best thing in my life has been Enlightenment. I think it's probably saved my life. And the point is, young people, they have the internet now. They have the ability to look at events. We mentioned this in our podcast, like what happened in New York and Washington. There was a chap on Richard Vobes the other day. I can't remember his name, but I've had so many messages about him. He was exposing people like Larry Silverstein, who took up the lease on a certain building, 2 buildings in America. Literally months. He's the first person ever to have a new lease on that property, and did so months before a certain event. And young people can find all this out, and they're turning away from their parents' generation. It's like comic relief is getting such a slagging off online, because all the money's going to be siphoned off by the big wigs, by the celebrities that go on there and tell you to give your money while they want, £135,000 for appearing on it, and all this kind of stuff. And what I'm saying is, young people, they get this. They know what the military's role is, or how the military's been infiltrated. They know they can't join it, because if they do, they lose their divinity. They lose the well, I mean, you never can lose it, but you're going so far from the path of your destiny by getting controlled by a minority group that are really, really sick and unwell, and you will pay the price, you will end up paying a serious price that's not worth it. And your family, and if you've got kids, they'll pay a much bigger price than you, because you'll be dead on a foreign battlefield, or suffering your PTSD, divorce, family left you because you sunk into alcohol. Every veteran I know that is just screwed up, Daniel. I don't meet any, even the ones you think are well balanced. You read their Facebook posts, you can see they're desperately insecure. They're desperately misunderstanding their childhood trauma. And I'm not trying to say I'm like, I've really been up feeling it lately, that spirit, it is spiritual battle. It doesn't help to overstretch myself the way I do. And anyway, sorry, getting back to the point, Dan, is like, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. People know now the secret. It's not a secret anymore. There's a club. They control the planet. They control the military, and they use it for evil gains. And if you want to join that, then you're either greedy, selfish, naive, gullible, or you just don't, or you're just a genuine sociopath that can turn off. And Dan, I'm not here to slag off the military, because that's not my point. I think in principle we joined a great thing. You and I are both so proud, especially of the corps that we joined, for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
and always will be. But I just think it's changing now, because people are saying, hang on, I want to know this sacred geometry. This stuff's been hidden. That's what those pyramids were for. Was that okay? And right, you're saying that, like, if I get a serious illness, I can heal that, but I don't need to go to, like, the doctors like my parents' generation did, get filled full of chemicals and then die in an old people's home, dribbling and drugged. What? There's another, okay. And sorry, I'm going on a bit, mate. I'm just trying to lay out the table of why I chose this topic of discussion. And also, we create our reality. So I'm saying that war is over.
Yes. When you're in the consciousness that we sit in, and you can dip into obviously oneness consciousness or down to Christ consciousness, or whatever level of consciousness you're in. If you're out of the 3D world that we're living in, you reside in a higher consciousness. You understand that the universal language is love, and then it goes back to sacred geometry, which was handed down to us through celestial being. Again, we won't go down that rabbit hole too much, but there's been what we would call in Christianity or in religion as prophets all down the line. You've been enlightened a lot earlier than I have, so you are a form of a prophet as such. The problem is when you rest in the grace of Christ consciousness, as we talk about, Jesus Christ said it. You listen but you don't hear, you see but you don't see, and that's where we are, Chris. We're in a position where, as 2024 moves in, and the vibrational uplift of Mother Earth, Gaia, changes, which they're now starting to feel is actually a living, breathing and being. We're seeing a vibrational shift, and this thing we call the awakening is happening. Mine was very traumatic, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And when you then begin to understand that the universal language is love, then there is no place for the military, because there's just love and peace. And that's a progressive thing, isn't it? But times need to change. Go on.
This is what I'm saying. You know, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Sorry, I know I'm repeating myself, but everyone strives their whole life, don't they, for that peace of mind, for that.
Yeah.
I remember when I used to hear the word nirvana, I just thought, well, that's never for me. I'll never find, my life's hard. But now people realise, no, you can access that through things like breath work, cold water immersion.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's, it's a goer, mate.
Yeah, it is. And that I feel very, very passionately. If you understand that I am principles, you move your way through your chakras. I think, therefore I know, therefore I am. I feel from my heart chakra that once the genie's out of the bottle, like you say, that I, as you do, as an obligation, as a light warrior, that's what I'm wearing now there, Avalon Light Warrior, to bring other people into the light through what we know. And that's why I've moved into shamanic healing, which is a far cry from me being a scaffolder on Avalon scaffolding after I left the military. I wear nail varnish now. And I talk quite openly about the powers of the universe. And for the ears that will listen, they're your people to start off with. But we must walk like Jesus Christ. That's what I say, with our eyes, ears, mouth, nose, and heart fully open to every conversation. And for the people that don't get it, we have an obligation as light warriors to inform them of certain things and make them question just a few things, so then they can become critical thinkers in their own instance. And that's all we can do, is sow a seed. Jesus Christ said it, isn't it? The mustard seed, small seed, isn't it? We talk about that in the inner eye. But the mustard seed, I know, in the Bible story, in my world of reality, the mustard seed is the tree of life. It's the third eye opening, the Kundalini rising. And once that mustard tree expands, the tree of life, that's the tree of knowledge. Books are knowledge, and knowledge isn't directly power, but it's wisdom. And then you reach the place like we talk about is nirvana, or heaven, depending on what you choose to follow.
Yes. What's the plant that grows like in the dirt at the bottom of a pond, and then it blossoms into? Is it a chrysanthemum, or have I got that wrong?
I don't know.
It's a Buddhist metaphor. It's a plant that grows in the dirt, the mud at the bottom of a pond. That's like, you know, learning from hardship, and then it bursts through the surface as a beautiful. I'm going to ask.
Water lily, like.
I can't remember. I just a lot of the Buddhist stuff that it sums all this up, doesn't it?
Love the Buddha. We love Buddhism. Reincarnation, the soul's eternal, the body goes back, ashes, ashes, dust to dust. That you can look across all religions or kind of followings, and you can decipher that they all talk about the same things. And it's a very tough conversation to talk about. But if you take the basis of the soul is eternal, so if the soul is eternal, but the body depletes, and you keep coming. Oh, my boy's turning up. So sorry, so sorry, Freddie, darling. I'm on live, darling.
I'm on telly.
I'm not quite telly, Freddie, darling. I'm on live on the internet, darling. What do you want to tell me?
Bag's ready.
Yeah, bag's ready to go on Dartmoor. Oh, I love you. I love you. Love you. Oh, bless you. I'm so sorry, guys. He's just packed his bag, going Dartmoor with Daddy. You know, can't really refuse. That's what we're saying. Sorry.
We were talking about the beauty of when you learn sort of Buddhist concepts, and you're like, right.
Yeah. The rabbit hole's deep. So Buddhism is all talks about is it reaching samsara? But enlightenment effectively is being conscious. So for me, being conscious all the time is questioning everything I do, whether it's putting food in my mouth, brushing my teeth with fluoride-free toothpaste, fasting. So I fast like 24 hours a day, eat once, eat a lot of this water. But we become conscious of everything we do. We start to waken up and we start to question. It goes back to this becoming a critical thinker, isn't it? Questioning everything we do. And that's why Buddhists, these Shaolin monks, spend their life in temples, because they are manifesting a new nirvana here on earth. That's what I feel resonates with me. But the reason they like to be so isolated is so they can spend their days dedicating their life to the greater good of love, because they've been enlightened, right? And I think we in the Western world have been a bit slow to pick up on the fact that we could learn a lot from the East. But again, it's controversial things to say, isn't it? Because people don't want to hear that because of social media outlets and on what we're being told. It's very edgy conversation.
It is, but I think the New World Order, with all like its Instagram, you know, bulimic models or whatever in their bikinis, and I think it's a limited hangout. Or I'd like to think so. It's a friggin' cesspool, man. You know, and
all life is beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. And people will move away from it. I think it's an interesting time.
It's a beautiful time. I think it's very beautiful.
Yes, it's a good time. It's a good time to be alive.
Yeah, I think the world is shifting, like I say, into a completely different paradigm. I'm in a lot of circles on my social media handles, whether it's you think you're a star seed, or you think you're an angel, or you're into sacred geometry. I do a lot of ley line walking now. I don't know if anyone's into that. That's channeling earth energies. That's a real thing. That's what we talk about, these pilgrimages, these we call them hippies used to do. Well, call me a new age hippie then, because I've been going all up and down the St. Michael and Magdalena line and all the Neolithic sites and all these sacred geometry sites that they are right in front of our faces. And when you go there and you're willing to expand your mind into a fact of the living, breathing Mother Earth, Gaia, I talk about it all the time, the Alpha and the Omega. If we took into consideration the Bible got it wrong and it's Alpha and Omega, that's the atmosphere and Mother Earth, and we talk about that we are made up of elements, earth, wind, fire, and water, and matter being the fifth element when you combine them all together. That's you being a being. It is beautiful, right? And so you are an element, you are an atom, a tiny atom that vibrates. So why wouldn't going over these sacred geometry sites vibrate your atoms because it's natural earth energy? This is well documented, these ley lines. I've got loads of books. That's all I ever do is read. And I take my wife and kids so they can be a part of that as well, you know. And it's not a solo mission as such. I'm actually up in Glastonbury on Tuesday night at the Chalice Well, welcoming in the equinox with a bunch of people, just embracing good, like-minded individuals.
Yes, it's got a nice feel to it, Glastonbury, hasn't it?
But Glastonbury is my home. It is. I grew up in Yeovil and I spent a lot of time in and out of Glastonbury. It's great vibe. I even made the telly up there. Did you see it on the BBC News?
Yes, I did. It was. Did you?
Windmill.
I'm showing your Instagram now. I can see a lot of the posts are from Glastonbury because it's got that.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on.
I'm always in Glastonbury. I've got an affiliation with these people here. They're called they're Michael and Leanne, and they're the Lemurian Star Child Oracles, and they're in the Lemurian Starseed realm, which again is a level of consciousness that they believe they're in the aliens, and the aliens are celestial powers. I won't go into it, but these levels of dimensions of expanded consciousness are real. Or they are in the paradigm of where we sit if you allow your mind to open it up to that. And then obviously, as you know, the ultimate level of consciousness is the 12th dimension, is oneness, isn't it? Which is what the Dalai Lama sits at, universal oneness. But so, yeah, they're good people. Good. Love Glastonbury.
Do you think the Dalai Lama really does? Because I don't know.
I don't know. He promotes it.
No, I just mean he was trying to lick a kid the other day, wasn't he? He really fell from grace. I know. You know, he was trying to stick his tongue into a child. It was just a bit. Oh, look, I'm not slagging a guy off. I'm just saying that. I just think a lot of these people are kind of like puppets. They're put there. They probably don't get. Might not. You can't be made to be enlightened. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'd be interested, you know. I'd be interested. I'd be interested to know if you brought your child up the enlightened way. Would they be enlightened, or is it something that only certain people go through?
Well, again, I'm getting a lot of mixed messages when I look into this, because I think everyone can achieve enlightenment from a oneness perspective, but I do feel that what I pick up is, and it's very controversial, that when we talk in the Bible, it talked about the firstborn being sacrifices. I believe I'm beginning to feel that maybe that was a message of the firstborns of anyone on creation on earth are the ones that have an obligation to expand. So like a subconscious, I don't know. It's very tricky to get into. I don't know if I know enough to make a proper statement on it. But I would say, surely if they brought them up the enlightened way, the natural progression would be an evolution of their consciousness again still, right? Because that's what life is, ever expanding consciousness of growth. So surely they'll just continually grow. I don't know. That's something I have to find out, I suppose, with my children.
Yes. Sorry, you said the word firstborn then, and I for some reason I got my dictionary of scriptures and myths, and I took.
What did you get? What did you come up with?
It comes up with this: firstborn, the first logos, the unmanifest God, In other terms, the higher self, the first emanation of spirit from the absolute. For the Father of things that are hath made him rise as his eldest son, whom elsewhere he hath called his firstborn, and who, when he hath been begotten, imitating the ways of his sire and contemplating his archetypal patterns, fashions the species of things. It's a bit of a mouthful sometimes. I'm just
You can unpack it though, can't you? I think you and I are reading between the same lines.
Well, it's just that when was it Herod ordered that all the firstborn be slaughtered, wasn't it? And in church, they teach you that he's just this nasty guy that didn't want to be usurped by a younger king or something, and it was Moses, wasn't it? He was trying to take out.
That's right.
But it means a different thing in allegory. So Moses is like the Old Testament Jesus, you know. He's got his staff of righteousness. It's got the caduce, the two snakes, symbolic of the kundalini, like living the right.
Kundalini, that's right.
Yeah, and it's just fascinating. I wish I knew more about all this stuff. But so when he declared this thing on the firstborn, like in allegory, there's some spiritual message in there that.
Yeah. So the spiritual message I detract is that, like, the firstborns of everyone that's born in creation. So I would go into the creation of life is the combinations of masculine and feminine energy together, and then the seed of life in Adam and Eve is the snake in the garden, Adam and Eve, and then creation is the Big Bang, and then the soul enters through the veil of Avalon into the creation of life, which is Mother Earth, but also the woman. And then the soul is born, and then that soul from that firstborn in the Bible will tell you obviously had to be slaughtered, blah, 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 because I believe that the firstborns of every firstborn on the planet wakes up, and then it's up to them to decide the path of what they choose, because we have something on this planet called free will, and that's all been took into consideration. But that, again, is my thought process and my reality. I speak about Moses a lot because my nan was Spanish and she was a Moss. And Moses and Moss, if you track back my Spanish nan's name from Gibraltar, Moss is Irish, but Spanish goes back to Moses in the Bible. Obviously, my name's Daniel. I think that trans back to God is my judge. So these biblical names keep coming up and over and over again. And I then question, in my reality, are these realities continuously running? The realities that we talk about, are they concurrently running as we now live and speak and breathe, and people are just not aware of it? And then it talks about Kundalini. Jesus says, surely you will not enter the gates of heaven until you go back to being a child. So we then talk about playing games in our head, and then we talk about our levels of consciousness, and the manifestations that you and I have, I presume, are one of love, peace, and joy, which is returning back to a child, which is aristocracy. Give me a boy to the age of 5, I'll show you the man he'll become, because beyond that you'll see grow up. So
I just want, so for anyone who's just joined the stream, Dan and I are discussing how the military must be dying, because if two veterans are having this conversation, and we're not the only ones, you know, there's loads of veterans follow this channel that get what we're talking about, or they're more advanced than us, or they're learning, right? The point is, friends, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. When I was young and joining the military, no one was having this conversation. No one was doing cold water immersion. Wim Hof hadn't even started it. No one was doing breathing techniques unless you were a yogi or that kind of person who'd pilgrimaged to India, in which case... I wouldn't have known you, because no one in my family knew any sort of quote unquote hippies. I'm using that term liberally, folks. So that's what we're getting at. I just had something for you then, and I had it, lost it.
So yeah, go on.
Oh, what was the last thing you were saying?
I was going to go on. So I just had a notification. So I'm currently using an online quantum cryptic chat called Orion Messenger, which I believe was founded by Robert E. Grant, which is a polymath over in America. He's like, you can Google him. He's talking about the same sort of stuff we're doing. And so I've been blessed that I've been allowed to join this quantum encrypted end-to-end chat. So I chat with people all around the world, but most notably a lot of people in Canada and America. And this movement is expanding, and hence why it's called Orion Messenger, because we are celestial beings. We talk about this alien concept, but if we talk about the atmosphere and the earth, and God breathed life into you, which was matter, which is time, space, matter, you could argue that you are part celestial being, but not necessarily in the green alien way that you and I have been led to believe. You know, the information is kind of hidden there in plain sight. We were carved out of Gaia, Mother Earth.
In scripture, all this stuff. So I'm just showing the clip of you at Glastonbury for friends at home. I think so much of it is just confused. Oh, there you are. I'm not even going to ask what you're doing or what that lollipop thing was dipped in. Oh, hang on. Sorry. I screwed that up. Yeah, so much of it is allegory for, like, angels, for example, angles of light, light from the sun. We are creatures, hue as in the color of light, human. We are human, people of light. This is why when people come and they talk about a carnivore-only diet, and what other people do, I really don't care, but I think they're really absolutely missing the point that we thrive on chlorophyll from the sun. I tell you what I think's happened is there's a certain cough procedure that gets given to kids about 20 times, 10 to 15 times by the time they're 5 years old. And the same procedure is given to all of us when we join the military. And I think that procedure interferes with the body's ability to metabolize certain vegetables and stuff. But that is a separate issue to the fact that we're creatures of light, and that chlorophyll, from a sacred mathematical perspective, it fits with our DNA, if that makes sense. Dan,
it does. We are, I mean, like, it goes back to feed the 5,000. I think what we need to be is more conscious of what we're doing. I think everything in moderation is more sustainable. For me personally, we know, right? I talk about it all the time on my channel. We know that red dark meat takes a long time to digest in your system. So if we think about that, then obviously for the time it takes to burn that meat, 7 days for red meat in your colon, you're burning energy. So that's wasted energy. So why would you put something in your body that's going to take such a long time to digest, that's going to give you minimal results, the amount of energy you have to burn? And then we look at roughage, and we have the base of our tail as our appendix. We used to have a tail, right? So we were probably climbing, getting nuts and berries and bits and bobs. But I know, Chris, as you do, since switching to an alkaline diet, yes, I may have lost 3 stone and I've got stage 2 Crohn's and I don't eat as much. But now I have a really low resting heart rate. My blood pressure is through the floor. I'm physically fit. Mentally, I'm more robust now than I have been, arguably, all my life. And there's no coincidence with this. Like, you can say that I had trauma, my hospital admission. You could say about my stage 2 Crohn's. But my life now is full 180. And I'm a lot more healthier by reducing what I'm eating and eating more roughage, like you say. I'm not saying cut it out completely, just then being more mindful about what you're consuming. Just because it's there doesn't mean you need to eat it, right? But we do, because we just always picking, aren't we? Always picking, eating, always burning energy, wasting energy. Anyway, sorry, I'll keep going off.
No, I want to come in there and say that the reason it's important not to be burning energy on processing this massive amount of food in your gut, like you said, the meat that sits in there rotting and putrefying. You know, you'd never pick up a dead animal carcass and eat, and it's been rotting for 7 days and eat it, and yet we think. But that's the thing I was going to say is, from what I understand, to raise this chrism, this Christ energy, to get your pituitary and pineal gland firing, which then produces the serotonin and the DMT, so the milk and the honey, is you've got to hit your body with energy, and you can't be squandering that energy. And it's like me. I mean, my resting heart rate, I think, gets as low as 38.
My God.
It gets so low that when I went to the hospital, they put me in like the emergency room thing because they thought that I was going to die. And then they said, are you like an endurance athlete or something? I said, well, I ran the length of the country. They went, that's it. And,
that'll do it.
And like my blood pressure's low. I don't mean like criminally low, but all that sort of thing. And I just know that overeating's not the way, even though my only kind of vice left in life is binging. You know, I really want, it's the last thing left is food. But I'm 54 and I'm just over 10 stone. So the same weight I was when I was 18. I'm happy about that, you know.
Yeah. I weigh less now than when I was in the Marines. I fluctuate between my entry weight and slightly lower. But again, Chris, I didn't do a lot of training. I've been trying to plug my social media thing. And I booked myself in for, it was like a 7-mile race around Hemmondale Trail or Outer Edge. Didn't do no training. And I'm not saying that boastfully. But I also went there with a different mindset. I didn't go there to smash any records. I went there to enjoy the race, be at Mother Earth, run with the wind on my face and the rain on my side. And I ran it. I turned up and I smashed it. And I didn't even wake up too sore the next day. And I mean that genuinely from the bottom of my heart. I wouldn't advise everyone to do that. But my stomach's obviously a bit poorly, but I feel so well in myself that I just want to spread this. You know, it's beautiful. And again, it's just love, isn't it? I say it all the time. We are love. We are light. We are life. We are free energy. And when you tap into it and you understand, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is a nice place to be. Dan, listen, let's go over and have a chat on our locals platform.
Do so. That's good. I'd love to.
Yeah, folks, gonna try to get onto locals. I've just had a shout, so I'm not sure if I've got time for if we're gonna go, we're gonna be there in 2 minutes. So YouTubers, massive thank you for joining us. I hope you got something out of this. Like I say, you know, 2 veterans having this kind of chat was unheard of like 10 years ago, and yeah, it's all good. Dan, thanks a lot, brother.
Cheeky little plugs in.
Yeah, go on.
Get a couple cheeky plugs in.
Yep.
Big shout out to The Realness 12 on Instagram for the Avalon Lightworker t-shirt. Big shout out to my wife, The Nails, KB and Co's on North Prospect Road. Getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. And a big shout out to you, Chris. You're a legend. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, I'm doing my best, mate. I'm doing my best. Yeah, it's a lot of hard work, mate. But hey ho, I'm never going to complain.
You are appreciated.
Right, Dan, just stay on the line. Thank you to everyone at home. Go steady. Please chuck us a subscribe if you haven't already, and click the notification bell. Yada yada. You've heard it all before. Cheers, guys.
I've been living